And all right, we're live. Welcome back to another episode. I'm here with my main man, Justin, kicking it with Justin today. What's up, Justin? How are you, man?
G'day, Christian. How are you, brother? Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you, man. Now, we met a while back. I think it was in 2017, and we actually met online. And we both were trading crypto at the time, and that was when the bull run was happening in 2017, when we saw those absolutely insane gains. Like 100%, 200% was nothing. These things were going like 700, 800. We were 10xing our money. I remember
1000%.
I literally went from 4K to 20K
Yeah.
in just a matter of months. And I think I remember you saying you got into like the six-figure region as well. So that was a crazy time, man.
Up the power ledger. Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, getting into Power
Today was
Ledger. You were the one who got me into Power Ledger. You were like, you know what, man? You gotta invest in this ICO, and then I just saw it just go like this. It was absolutely insane, bro. But yeah, tell us how you got into crypto and what was the light bulb moment for you, that kind
Yeah.
of told you where this is going.
Well, I mean, just jumping down, the rabbit hole, always sussing things out. And it started with Bitcoin. You heard I was in network marketing. I think the first time I really heard of Bitcoin was, you're looking at the market, sort of network marketing. Your top sort of market caps, and there was that OneCoin. Ranked OneCoin with
OneCoin, yeah,
the top earners were from OneCoin. They were all
yeah,
earning ridiculous amounts, like hundreds of millions of dollars, trading. And through this, it was a pyramid scheme. It was a massive scam. But and I guess it's sort of what put a lot of people off from looking into Bitcoin at first in those early days. But that was the first sort of thing seen, and then that sort of got me looking into Bitcoin a little bit more. What is it? What is Bitcoin? What's it for? And then you start jumping down, that rabbit hole. The decentralization movement, the anarchists. You start listening to the anarchists and the libertarians, and
yeah.
what all they them are saying, and um, they've got a lot of really good points, and resonated a lot with me. And Bitcoin was what attracted me. And then I started getting into all these altcoins, and it was just in 2017, and the altcoin cycle, just before the altcoin pump, um, and or during the altcoin pump. And I think I've seen, WikiLeaks, Julian Assange tweet, thanks to, the US,
I've
thanks
seen
to
that.
John McCain and all of them, for sanctioning, unlawfully sanctioning WikiLeaks, putting a banking blockade, forcing, Visa, MasterCard, all these banking associations to stop, payments.
How
And,
fucked is that? That they can just stop your funding just like that because they don't
there
like you.
goes, there goes freedom of speech, doesn't it? There goes, freedom of the press. I mean, yeah, there. Anyway, that's we'll save that for a little bit later. But after seeing all that, and believing what WikiLeaks stands for, and Julian Assange, what he stands in, and seeing his tweet, thanks for making us invest in Bitcoin for 50,000% returns.
Crazy.
After you force this censorship through the traditional banking system. You really look and, well, they would have shut down Bitcoin then if they could, and they've been trying for the last 10, 11 years. So I'm like, well, it's certainly safe and certainly secure enough from state attackers and from these massive countries and organizations. It's safe from these political actors. So that after seeing that and jumping into the rabbit hole and getting into altcoins, and this looking into altcoins, and there was all these claims that this altcoin can do what Bitcoin does, but better, but faster,
Oh
but
yeah.
cheaper, but all of these sorts of things. And I think a lot of people still make that mistake today. The getting into the old trilemma factor.
Yeah.
There's got to be trade-offs. We know now, not everything. Not one blockchain can do everything. It can't be secure, it can't be decentralized, and it can't be speedy. It can't offer fast, secure, and cheap transactions while being decentralized. It's a trilemma. You can have two of the things. You can be fast, and you can be decentralized. but you can't be secure as well, and that's what Ethereum face. And Bitcoin, you can be secure and you can be decentralized, but you're not that fast. And these are the sorts of trade-offs. And there's a lot of these third gen up and coming blockchains up and coming, which are quite interesting. Which like Ada and Cardano. I think they've sold the trilemma case. Yet to be seen. There's some big claims, but they've got the Shelley update coming out by the end of the month. That's something I'm really
I'm
excited
so
about
excited
on
for
Coin.
Cardano. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I'm really excited about, the Shelley update on Cardano. But big promises. They've taken their time. They've taken the academic approach to destroy a lot of papers, a lot of scientific papers, peer reviewed, a lot of backing already from countries, from governments, from big corporations. So yeah, it's looking promising, but let's see if they can solve the trilemma. But even if they they can, they've already Bitcoin and Ethereum's got a big head start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That trilemma, that Andreas Antonopoulos always talks about that, and there's always a trade-off, and you can't have everything, or it's very hard to have everything without actually, waiting some time for the technology to get up to speed. And that whole Julian Assange thing, that to me was a big statement to say that, you know what, fuck your traditional banking system. We don't need to go through your dirty fucking fiat. We're just going to use Bitcoin and we're going to get rich in the process as well. So that to me was a big light bulb moment saying, hey, there's some people that, run this world. And if they can't stop Bitcoin, who can really stop Bitcoin, So that was very eye-opening, and that kind of was like, okay, this is legit. And then, Ethereum came out and they're saying, ETH is going to be this super world computer, decentralized computer, everything's going to run through ETH. And then all the ETH copies came up, EOS, Cardano, and then you got Tezos as well. So very interesting to see, because if ETH doesn't deliver with ETH 2.0, which is coming out very soon as well, then some of these other high throughput blockchains might come through and take ETH's place. But I honestly don't see anyone beating ETH at the moment, because it's got the head start. It's got the most developers on it as well. And the proof of stake mechanism is just insane. Did you want to explain what proof of stake is for people who don't really understand crypto too much?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two basic, consensus mechanisms that secure, cryptocurrencies: proof of work and proof of stake. And there's a couple of other spin-offs, but I mean, they're the two big ones. So Bitcoin is a proof of work, consensus model, that's based around mining, mining blocks to secure the network. And if you want to say in the consensus or the way the network operates, you need to operate a mining pool, you need to have hardware, you need to make an investment, in the energy and doing the work, and the thousands of dollars in equipment, and in mining rigs, FPGAs, and in ASIC miners. They're not cheap to get. So that's how it secures the network. These people, were rewarded for their investment. That's proof of work. Now, proof of stake is a different consensus method, and while proof of work is more secure, proof of has been in the past. As proof of stake is Bitcoin. It is the most secure cryptocurrency there is. It's got the most hashing power, and it's what ties all of the cryptocurrencies together. Without Bitcoin, without a state, without a censorship resistant, currency that can't be stopped by countries or any political
Governments,
or
banks, no chance.
even someone with a gun going to the biggest holder and saying change these rules, or else you can't do that without everybody chipping in. Now, proof of stake's a bit different, where you've actually got to without having to invest in the mining hardware, you actually are able to sort of technically sort of like mining without you stake the coins into a wallet, and gone fully blank.
That's it's kind of like, so the way I think of proof of stake is you have the coin and you kind of lock it up, and by you locking the coin up, you're pretty much securing the blockchain the same way that a miner would secure the blockchain. But it's kind of like you said, just a different consensus model. And
It
you
reduces the level of barrier because you don't need that expensive
hardware,
hardware
yeah,
to level of entry. Anyone can just open up a wallet, lock up, that amount of tokens, and by doing so, you're essentially, the network, the system knows that you are. Um, that you have that amount of tokens, that you're eligible for a vote, that you're eligible for that amount of say. The more tokens that you have, essentially, the more say that you have, um, and that's the model.
yeah.
More, yeah.
So in simplest terms, in layman's terms, it's just another way to create income. So if you have, and the limit I think is 32 ETH, you have to have 32 ETH in order to stake your claim on the blockchain. And you can do that. You can even join mining pools. I know Nugget's going to organize like a mining pool for the NCC community, and you can just chuck ETH into this pool, and you're going to get the equivalent amount of tokens back. So whatever
Absolutely.
that is.
And yeah, mining pool. So 32 ETH if you want to run your own sort of mining pool, but you can also collaborate and syndicate your funds with other people,
Exactly.
and that's another cool thing. Crypto allows a syndication. But some of the other really big staking cryptos, KIWK network is
I
another
love
big
Kaiba.
staking crypto where that they're in the really early release by the end of the month. They're about to release their DAO, which is going to allow you to vote within the system as well. So that's really good. Not only on a staking model, it's also highly deflationary because they have a lot of a big buy back and burn model. So a lot of these tokens, while a lot of these stakers are going to be locking them up, reducing the supply on the market, there's also going to be big buyback and burns, further reducing the available supply to purchase with the fees essentially
Yeah,
that KIWK collect from their money markets. So DeFi is going to be that's something that's going to be huge, and staking is uh, isn't isn't DeFi. A lot of people get staking and DeFi quite a little bit mixed up. There's a little bit of difference between the two. Decentralized finance is more of the lending and the finance side, where staking is a consensus mechanism to secure the network, to be able to ensure that the network can go forward and make decisions with without any third party or without a centralized party in control. Everybody gets a say, and that's the sort of difference between blockchain and these corporations, where you've got the head of corporations that get the say, and the people down the bottom that get no say with a blockchain and these sort of crypto systems. Everybody gets a say,
exactly.
and it's only really sort of minor between these people that hold more tokens and less. Of course, the people that have a bit more and have more more into the system, that offer more to the system, that develop more, they get a little bit more, but that's that's quite minor in comparison to corporations. These this triangle hierarchy where we've got the few that make a
Yep,
decision for the
at the
many.
top.
With blockchain and crypto, we've got the many that that make decisions for the many. If you want to make any changes, you need some blockchains it's 51% consensus. Some others it's higher. It's 74, 75% consensus to make any changes.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
literally the fairest system that there is at the moment in terms of top-down structure. It's not like a pyramid like you say where the top people have the most control. It's all spread out. It's all decentralized. It's it spreads the power across the people. And I really wish people, normal people, would see this and realize that there is a big difference between, the crypto markets and traditional financial markets. They are similar, they share different traits, but the whole idea is decentralization, and that's the game changer. That's why Bitcoin is where it is today. That's why Ethereum is looking to become, the next big financial thing, technology in the world today.
Absolutely, and I mean the people that don't get crypto or Bitcoin, they're they're living in their ivory towers and their first world banking systems. With they've got access to ATMs, they've got access to credit, they've got all these things. But the people that really get these things are the people that are living in hyperinflated countries with
Oh yeah.
that have been forced to watch their savings depreciate 50% per year. These people that you don't even have to discuss this sort of stuff. Venezuela, Zimbabweans, of late,
Dude,
the
Lebanon.
Iranians,
I have
Lebanese.
I have friends that are Lebanese, and they tell me what's happening back home. They're literally getting Molotov cocktails, lighting those
Mm,
motherfuckers on fire and chucking them at the banks. Like,
yeah,
imagine we
absolutely.
did that here to NAB and
Yeah,
Westpac and shit.
yeah. No, it's all going down, and and yeah, African countries even. Um, even more nowadays. It's only building up. It's spreading throughout the world. And how long till with all this money printing in the US and Australia and all across the world till we start seeing some more some more inflation. We've already they say 2% they aim for per year, but if you look at the real inflation, 2% per year, that's not what I see when I go down the shops and order my fish and chips from the fish and chip shop. We went down the other night and I was just shy of $30 to get a couple of hamburgers, some chips, and a couple of bits of fish and whatnot. And remember back in the day, you go down with a dollar with your friend, you get a dollar worth of hot chips, and it's enough to feed you and your friend. And I
Those days
remember
are
hearing
gone.
these. I remember hearing those stories from when I was younger, from your elders, from your parents, from your grandchildren. I used to buy a liter of gasoline in my car for 5 cents, and 20 cents for a cigarette, and all these sorts of things.
Damn.
And yeah, it's quite crazy. Just the thing about inflation is, what I've learned, and what I've seen from sort of really there's a documentary that highlights this really well.
Hidden secrets?
Inflation, Hidden Secrets of Money does it really well.
Yes.
But how inflation, and all these it speeds up at the end.
Exponential.
It's an exponential function.
Yeah.
So you sort of don't notice it until it's already there, and by the time you've noticed it, it's already too late.
That's one thing that I really wish people would wrap their head around, and how detrimental it's going to be to us in the future is the whole money printing. And as we know, the US dollar is the is the reserve currency of the world. So everything is traded with US dollars. Now, the US Federal Reserve has printed, I think it's $12 trillion since this coronavirus hit. $12 trillion. And they're propping up the stock market. The stock market's hitting all-time highs. There's fucking record number of unemployment in America. The people are literally on the streets pulling down statues. In Seattle, they've got this demilitarized autonomous zone where a bunch of fucking Antifa motherfuckers went and literally fenced off 6 blocks, and they got guns, and they're saying if any cops come, we're gonna shoot them. And their stock markets are all-time highs. It doesn't make sense, Justin. What the
One
fuck is going on?
one third of the US workforce is recently employed for unemployment benefits for the first time. But yeah, as you say, stock markets keep rising. I mean, you wouldn't pick it. We were thinking, short the market. This is going to be a bloodbath. This
The
is going to
next
be
depression.
nuts. This is going to be the next depression. But don't bet against the Fed. Don't get a bet against the Fed. The money printer go brrr.
Yeah, pretty much that whole meme, money printer go brr.
Man,
It's serious, and I don't know. Robert Kiyosaki was under the impression. I was listening to a podcast with him, and he was under the impression that
we're all
it's the
socialists.
he,
All Australians anyway. Yeah.
basically his theory is that the Fed is printing all this money so that the rich people can then get out at the highs, and then once they get out, they're gonna fucking tank the market. So this is kind of like a a plan B for them, because everything got liquidated so quickly in March, and now it's kind of like back at that all-time high level. So now when the second wave comes, the second wave of the coronavirus, that's the cue for the liquidation to start again, and then we're gonna roll into a 1929 kind of like depression.
Mm, mm. Yes, and bring in the forced vaccinations, and you can't go out, or you can't go and see your grandparents, or your grandparents can't go out of their homes and see you unless you show them a certificate. If you've got a vaccination. I'm already seeing a family member that's in a local home. Can't even go in and see them if if you haven't got a certificate set showing you've been vaccinated with the flu now. So I'm not getting fucking vaccinated. So I mean, not against the flu. It is what it is.
Like
So, but
there are some diseases that, when I was young, I got vaccinated for like smallpox and tuberculosis and all that sort of stuff. They're all right, but when someone comes to you with the coronavirus vaccine, and you can follow the money, and it's probably going to be Bill Gates that is going to come up with this
you
vaccine.
can see the average age of people are dying is actually older than the average age of people dying from old age. The
Yeah.
average age of death from corona is 80, 86, 87 years old is the average death from the age of corona, and the average age of average life expectancy is 83 in the US. So
Yeah, and
some ridiculous like that, I think.
the whole statistics being, fabricated as well. People getting bitten by sharks and then dying in hospital, getting attributed with COVID, and people with like late stage terminal cancer being attributed with COVID as well, that are just, padding these stats. So it's just like, what the fuck? There's
It started
definitely
as
something bad going on.
Yeah, I mean, it started as a good thing. We're facing this pandemic, we're facing this virus outbreak. So, let's put $150 billion or whatever to be able to fight this pandemic outbreak. And meanwhile, these hospitals are they're going bankrupt. They're broke, and so like, okay, cash cow time. Let's cash in $36,000 for every person they can put on a ventilator,
Yeah,
or any person that they can, say died of coronavirus. So they're incentivized now to change the come in and change the death. And this is what happened. Doctors are leaving their shift. They've had a patient that's died of something. Yeah, as you say, they've been hit by a bus, and they'll come back in the next day, and the death certificate is being changed to coronavirus, so they can cash in on that $30,000 grant. This is a conspiracy. This
that's
is this
so
is this
shady.
is fact.
That's so
Um,
shady, bro.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, follow the money, right? So that's
Yeah.
what it's anyone else try to do that. It'd be fraud. But
Well, if you're in control of the money printer, you can do whatever the fuck you want, my friend.
you can do whatever you want. So this is this is the what's going around. But yes,
But
I don't.
going back to the Fed, and the whole money printing thing, uh, like I said, when this second wave comes, and they're preparing us. It's a whole psyop thing as well. They're constantly in the news. They're like, oh, second wave, second wave. So I do think some kind of second wave is going to become, whether it's fabricated or whether it's real. And during that time, that's when you'll see like the massive liquidations in all of the markets. I really hope the crypto markets can shake off the correlation with the stock market, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be correlated. It should do its own thing because it has nothing to do with the stock market. But at the moment, for what I've seen and from what Nugget said as well, they still are tightly correlated. So
We'll
hopefully we
see
can
some
break that.
sections, but we can't break down, crypto into one broad category. We've got multiple sections. We're seeing, of late DeFi, what Bitcoin's trade sideways. We've seen the DeFi and some of the, the scaling solutions for Ethereum, and some of the enterprise solutions for Ethereum do really bloody well. So, some of these altcoin plays are absolutely killing it, while,
Oh yeah,
while
compound.
Bitcoin just just ranges. Yeah,
You're
Compound has
seeing
been
compound?
doing um, well, it went from like
Right.
what, it was like $370 last time I looked, I think.
I'll have a
Circuit
look at it
today.
now, but it was
But I
ridiculous. It
mean,
just came out of nowhere.
there's probably only fucking what 50,000 tokens in circulation though. You got
Something
to
like
think
that.
about that. Wait till all the tokens in circulation you can only get. They're only handing out 2,000 or 5,000 per day just for staking rewards at the moment. So there's not much in circulation. There's a lot of hype for the supply. Very low supply out of the total supply that's to come in circulation. So
Yeah. Are you familiar with the dollar milkshake theory?
yeah, so the dollar milkshake theory that all money is going to flow to the US, the dollar is going to slurp up all the liquidity from
Yep.
around the world. It's a safe haven, and it's the US is the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry, essentially, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
So that's
I'm
what's going to happen. I really believe that that's what everyone's saying is going to happen. And once we start seeing these liquidations, everyone's going to go into US dollars, and that's when we're going to see the US dollar really strengthen in comparison to all these other fiat currencies. And unfortunately, our Australian dollar is going to get wrecked hard
isn't it? But I mean, even the US dollar,
afterwards. Yeah.
even the US dollar is still will strengthen, but it's still bound to inflation. They're still printing, still quite. If you're not making, if you can save in US dollars, is the better solution than saving in your local currency, as capital's gonna flow, as the dollar milkshake theory suggests to the US, the cleanest dirty shirt in the market, which we've seen. Although the Australian dollar's done pretty well, being able to open up so early, being able to, we're relying on all of our resources, but that's only, the, that probably won't last well.
Yeah. I'll show you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So I'll go over to the AUD chart, but basically I think it hit its local high, and I think
Mm,
it's going to continue its downtrend. So yeah, this is
mm,
what happened. It went from 70 cents back in January, and then yeah, it dropped to 55 cents. Look at that capitulation right there. It just
yeah.
went like that. I remember that day. I remember when it hit 55 cents, and ever since then, it's rallied 27%, and it's hit that local top of 70 cents, and I don't think there's a chance that we're going to see it continue go higher. I honestly
Mm.
believe we're going to trend lower, and then eventually probably end up making new lows. So this is a really good time to exit out of the Aussie dollar and buy yourself some US dollars. I really think so. What I'm going to do is buy some Tether or some USDC, and then probably just chuck that onto Celsius network and
Mm.
start earning some interest in Celsius token as well.
I mean, aren't we bloody lucky that
So lucky.
we're only our dollar's only swinging that much. You look at these other countries around the world, like the Turkish lira, like the Lebanese pounds, like the Venezuelan bolivar.
Yeah,
They're all seeing 50% inflation rates per year, right? Or up to
that's
some
so
even
far.
more. Venezuela, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of percent inflation per year. So at least we can get out of Australian dollars, and at least we can get into, a more stable US dollars, or Bitcoin, or even gold and silver. At least we have that access. Unfortunately, a lot of these people that are unbanked and, that live in these countries that have massive currency restrictions, and they're not even allowed to go, put their money into a more stable currency, to be
Oh
able to
yeah.
protect their savings. Imagine that you work all your life, you get a bit of a savings up, you're getting ready to to put your money into a business or a house, or invest or something like that, and all of a sudden that this hyperinflation starts speeding up. That speeds up out of nowhere. It hits you quicker than you realize. Sometimes some of these situations, and all of a sudden over a year, 50% of what you saved up can disappear. It's quite insane. And then you've also got, in Australia, we've also got, the bank bail-ins to deal with as well.
Mm.
So,
Do you
you
think
put
that'll
that money.
happen? Nugget seems to be of the idea that that's not really an option for
If the
them
governments
anymore.
don't bail them out, as
Yeah,
we've seen, I guess that bad governments are going to do whatever they can, and they're going to print.
they're
But
gonna
if it
print.
gets to a point that governments do what they sort of should do and say, you've spent all, like the airlines, 97% of your revenue for the last 10 years on stock buybacks to make your CEOs and shareholders rich, instead of reinvesting into the company to ensure your longevity.
Yeah.
Um, eat shit, go and die. Why should the taxpayers fund you? Because they're printing all this money, giving them trillions of dollars. The taxpayer has to pay that back, one way or another. So
It
it's
always comes back to the taxpayer, and no matter, and people saying they want to extend like the JobKeeper payments and stuff like that, we're gonna have to pay for that back, man. Like that comes back, whether it's through taxes, whether it's through inflation, it all comes back. We bear that
socialism for the
burden.
rich and capitalism for everyone else.
It's
Fuck everybody else,
yeah,
and fuck savers. Put in negative interest rates. Let's check it. Interest rates below zero, -2, -4%. Let's make savers pay to get us out of this downtrend. Let's make savers pay for getting out of this dip, and let's make savers pay the penalty. Because why should they say, why shouldn't they be spending their money to make this economy, this bubble, fuel this bubble and make it go around? Why shouldn't they prop up this bubble? So it's the mindset of these guys is quite unbelievable.
it's horrid. And thank God for things like Celsius Network, because we get to do stuff like put our money into this new technology and earn interest, and more interest than what banks would be giving nowadays, way more. Like we're almost at negative interest rates, which means like the bank is going to charge you for having your fucking money in your own bank account. Like that's ludicrous. I'm sorry,
Well,
that
the
is
banks
so
the
bad.
banks could afford. The banks used to give you what, 16, 17,
Yeah,
18% interest rates back in the day. You go and talk to your grandparents, and they'll tell you all about it. Even your parents might remember once
exactly.
back at upon a time the interest rates were much higher,
Look at
than
these rates,
one
man.
and a half, 2%. Yeah, it's quite.
Fucking, this is so for people who don't know, this is Celsius Network. This is the thing. I put up a status the other day saying if you could earn 8% of your money per year paid out weekly, would you? And so I got such an overwhelming response. People were like, yes, yes, they've never heard of that much money being paid out before, and it's possible. It's completely possible. And this is just with Bitcoin, right? So if you put half a Bitcoin here, you can earn $3.64. And I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, this is in US dollars.
This is in US dollars. Yep, it's all in US dollars and Celsius at the moment. You only need to
Amazing.
get an AUD calculator, but I mean, most things are calculated in US dollars, the reserve currency, and it's what's traded the most, right? It's what's got the pair that has the most volume. So if you do any technical analysis, or just to suss out any pricing, it's always best to look at USD pricing, as that's generally the best model.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you'd
Most
want to be
liquidity.
earning US dollars right now as the Australian dollar is tanking. So that's even more incentive to get involved into crypto and to get involved in DeFi and CeFi as well. And even if you don't want to get involved in crypto, you can always go to something like a USDT, so like a Tether, which is pretty much just what US dollars is, but it's just a digital version for people who don't know. And say, for example, you buy $1,000 worth of USDT, you can just lock that up in Celsius Network, and you can get $1.68 interest per week. And that's just off $1,000. You could put in 10,000 if you want, and you earn, yeah, $16.79. And if you decide you want to earn in the native currency of the Celsius Network, which is the Cell token, they're going to offer you even more interest. So look at that, man. That's You're earning off $10,000 American, you're earning $1,196.29 US per year, which is about $23 US per week. I'd say about 30, 33 Aussie. I mean, but you can't get these rates anywhere.
Celsius have got the best rates in the business, don't they? They give 80% of all the revenue back to the users. They're very open. They're very they're not there for profit. Um, they're there to give the money back to the users.
You got
So it's really an
loans.
honourable thing that Celsius is doing.
Yeah, you can get loans as well. I mean, this is a whole financial system basically in a digital form on DeFi, on the Ethereum blockchain, and all the other blockchains as well. So it's cutting edge stuff, and not many people know about this. So I'm glad you
How
decided to come on, and we can talk about this and educate people, and get their game up.
how great is it for people in Africa and for people in these countries that that are unbanked and that don't have a way to earn any money off their savings or anything like
Oh
that.
yeah,
So the continent of Africa, is well positioned for to earn from DeFi. All these there's billions of 3.5 to 4 billion unbanked across the world right now. So in Africa they're using mobile phone minutes as a currency, right?
wow,
It's better than the local Zimbabwean dollar or the local some of the local African countries are really starting to move into hyperinflation territory. So when you start seeing cell phone minutes used as a country because it's being able to freely trade throughout the country, and that lets you know that they need something. They need something desperate. So, when you see these people not understanding Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies or not caring about it, it's you need to look a bit beyond our what we have here with our first world um, banking solutions. A lot of places around the world don't have what we have. Remittances. If you want to send money around the world with Western Union, we're looking at 30% in some rural parts of the world where, and it could take 2 weeks. I need that money
it's a
now.
dinosaur system.
It's a dinosaur system. They intentionally slow it down because they make money, they make interest by holding onto your money and lending it out. So, for crypto, by cutting out that middleman by having code to ensure that that transaction in the middle, we're able to cut out that middleman, and we can send money, whether it's $100, a couple of $100 remittances to your family back home from your back to the Philippines or back to Iran or your family living somewhere around there. It can be done in, you can get sent on a Lightning network or Ethereum. Be there in 5 minutes and, cost you pennies.
Yeah.
So it's such the legacy system is fucked. Western
Oh,
Union, banks with their 2% and moving into negative interest rates, their, their day's done.
definitely. Crypto's coming and by storm, and they're gonna. Yeah, I'm really happy the way that the future's going in terms of, decentralization and the whole cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin looking like it wants to go to 100,000. What are your predictions for coming bull run? Because we're right at the start of it now, and we're yet to see new all-time highs. But what do you got your eyes on? What do you reckon we're gonna hit next year?
$1 billion. Nah,
You got to do the
$1 billion. Um, hmm, by next year. So predictions with a time limit. That's when
well, that's
you can never put a prediction with a time limit.
That's stock to
So
flow.
that's
You know stock to flow, right? The
yeah,
Plan
yeah.
B
I know
guy
the
on
stock to
Twitter.
flow.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
he
yeah.
basically predicted by November, December next year, 2021, is when we should see the all-time high, which kind of coincides with 2017 because we
Probably
saw it
about
in.
the end of 2022 with Plan B stock to flow model. $100,000 Bitcoin is certainly possible. $1 million Bitcoin leading into
Fuck, $1 million,
2030s.
man. That would be a dream come
Yeah,
true.
no, the stock to flow. I mean, it's just a model, but let's hope it pans out. If the stock to flow model pans out, then we're all laughing, aren't we?
If anything, crypto has taught me, it's that FOMO is unavoidable by anyone. It's hard coded into humans. The whole fear of missing out thing, and when you put it at an institutional level, when you have these institutions and hedge funds that are worth billions of dollars, once they get FOMO, oh boy, that's what we're going to see, a bull run of never before seen proportions.
Absolutely. And I think when if things keep heading down the rate that they are, so social civil unrest, if the economy doesn't open up, I mean, most businesses, around in the US, and we're lucky here in Australia, we're opened up, but a lot of places are still closed. A lot of businesses are still closed down. So unless economies open up, people are able to get out of their house, and able to get back to earning a living, we're gonna see a lot more fucked up shit.
Yeah, we really do live in a lucky country, don't we, man? I'm so happy to live in Australia, especially when you see what's happening now around the world and in America as well. A lot of people, I know a lot of people look up to America as like the standard in terms of what a country should be, but when you look at it now, it's all in shambles and everyone's divided, and it's pretty fucked up what the left is doing um, in the whole political thing. And once you stretch it to one side where the left has been in control for like what, since even before Obama, and it's just it's gotten to a point where people are just sick of these politicians and this political correctness and this social justice warrior mentality. I mean, they're starting to censor people on social media. They're doing this fact check bullshit. They're banning people, and they're even removing things off Netflix that they deem as racist. Like the whole, did you hear about the whole Summer High Tie thing?
When you start censoring comedy, that's how do you stand for that clear violation of freedom of speech when you start censoring comedy? It's not right.
It is
Yeah, I heard
definitely not
about it.
right.
I heard about it. It's fucked. It's fucked up.
And yeah, it looks like they're just gonna keep on ramping up, and I really
We
do
don't
hope.
need we don't need them. Decentralized autonomous organizations. I mean, blockchain voting. Um, we don't need this representative governance anymore. I mean, this model that we need, these centralized, Canberra, these representative governance models. From our local community, someone to go off and represent our voice. How can one person represent a whole community's voice? That the model is dinosaur. It's so 1800s, this representative democracy. Let's move into Liechtenstein has done a good job implementing this direct democracy model where through blockchain voting, every citizen can essentially vote on the local issues, when it comes to state issues, national issues. And it's just a cheaper, secure way of doing things where we don't need these corrupt politicians, dealing under the table with this absolute power, leading to absolute corruption, attracting the scum of the earth, that sort of people that are attracted to power. That's what politics attracts. And if you're not, if power isn't checked, then they left to do what they want to do and profiteer, and we see it time and time again. But code doesn't profiteer. Code does what we program it to, what it says it does. Anybody can go in and have a bit of a look, and and you can see it does exactly what it says it does. That's the good thing about these open source blockchains and cryptocurrencies. You can't go into Facebook, the programming and of Facebook, and see just how its algorithms work, how how it's programmed to feed us all this
Mm.
bullshit, and keep certain things out, and censor things. So um, decentralized, these decentralized autonomous organizations have been able to cut out the middleman and automate all of these sorts of things in a trustless manner is going to be massive.
Yeah, I definitely think the future is there in terms of social media platforms, entertainment platforms, wherever it may be. The more decentralization we have, the better it is. Now,
Mm.
let me know, because I remember when we were talking before, you mentioned UBI and automation as well. What's your opinion? Because I know the rate of automation is only going to speed up. More robots are going to replace humans, which means a lot of people are going to be out of work.
Mm.
And that's also a recipe for disaster. And how does UBI come into this? And because I have my own theories, I honestly think we're kind of moving into this more socialist, communist kind of style of politics, and UBI might just be a part of it because a lot of people are going to be out of jobs and they need to feed themselves, you know? So what's your opinion of that?
Absolutely. So automation is just a part of the future. It's how it is. Blockchain, what it is going to enhance the rate of automation. We're going to cut. It's going to cut out accounting jobs. It's going to cut out supply chain jobs. It's going to cut out a lot of these data entry positions, and robotics as a whole. We're already seeing it. When you walk into McDonald's now, when there's no checkouts, where
Oh
we're
yeah.
ordering off these self-serve sort of things in the local Coles and Woolies. So robots are starting to take over jobs, as we see it now, and that's only going to escalate in the future. The idea that people aren't going to be able to find anything to do and have to work a mundane shitty job 9 to 5 is a bit. I don't think that's what they need for happiness. I think that's one of the things stopping them away from happiness, having to go and work a shitty fucking job, digging holes as a plumber for 8 hours a day, or laying roofs or something for 8-9 hours a day in the Australian 45-degree heat. If that's what you need to live, I don't think. I think that person would much rather cycling around or going to the gym, playing sports. Maybe they're into writing music or poetry or painting or 101 other things to do. And no one wants to be doing that mundane shit. So if we can outsource these sorts of things to machines, there's certain things we can't outsource to machines yet, but that's coming a long way. There's machines now that you can that can do electrician jobs. We're seeing machines and 3D printers that can lay bricks and lay houses, and these sorts of technologies that they're trying to use on Mars, and for 3D printing homes and all these sorts of things. So it's gonna come a long way.
And not to
Uh,
mention the us morphing into the robot as well with
mm.
Neuralink.
NEUROLINK, yeah, with the interface to be able to, yeah, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? But universal basic income, I think, is going to be needed because most of the means of production, we're seeing farms get automated. You look at these really cool farm bots, you can see, you can even buy them, a little farm bot for your home. It's going to grow all your veggies and all these
Wow.
sorts of things. So, we're seeing, in a lot of farmers, nowadays, a lot of farmers' children, they're wanting to move into the cities. They aren't wanting to pursue, the same sort of career as their family and stick on the farm growing food and all these sorts of things. So there's a real a shortage of, farmers and, that mass agricultural knowledge isn't being passed down as much. So what we're starting to see is we're going to need robotics in some sectors. Otherwise, we might have shortages of food. So that's one sector, but robots are going to really start to overtake all the most of the means of production for a lot of things. But there's still going to be one thing robots can't do is they're not creative. You can't get a robot to create a
Yet.
song. You can't get a crowbot to rate yet. Yeah. Artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial generalized intelligence. But for the most part, people still want, people raising their children in schools, and they still want, actual, people as, childcare workers and people like artwork that's, created by people, and people still, even now, you get kitchen knives, some of these really sharp kitchen knives that are handmade and handcrafted that go for
Yeah.
hundreds, almost thousands of dollars.
Well,
Some of these ones, because it's handmade, it took this craftsman 20 years of precision, skill to develop this, and took him 3 months to rig this up. So you've always going to have that sort of sort of aspects. So jobs, machines aren't going to take over all jobs, but there's certainly going to be a massive shortage. And if there's no, universal basic income, or no dole, or no base sort of way to ensure these people can eat, then
That's a problem.
expect crime, expect looting, expect people going through your bin for scraps, expect homeless, expect all that sort of it's what we've sort of managed. That's why it's sort of, you see Robert Kiyosaki talk about how we're all a bunch of socialists here in Australia, but yet 5 minutes later he'll say, but Australia is the best place to live. I always come to Australia. Australia is the best place to live. I won't own homes and I won't do business here, but it's the best place to live. So I just sort of listen to that and I'm like, how can you say socialism is maybe a little bit of the dole? That's essentially what the socialism is, right? The dole, they don't have much. They got food stamps, but essentially not as they don't have as many Centrelink and government handouts in the US as we do in Australia, and also incentives for negative gearing property, but that's another thing entirely. But that's why we're a bunch of socialists, as we a lot of our social programs. But if we've got some of the best living standards in the world, as opposed to and that's why he says we're a good place to come. So if a little socialism and in ensuring that those people can eat, those people at the bottom of the food chain can survive and eat, is that might be not such a bad thing for quality of life.
Let me ask you, once this Neuralink thing, is finally in production and becoming more mainstream, because I honestly think it's going to get to a point where this iPhone and these smartphones as we know it, the next version is going to be this chip, this Neuralink that's going to interface with the internet via your brain, and it's going to be trendy at first. Only the people in Silicon Valley are gonna do it, and they're going to see massive production just because they're going to be able to work so much more efficiently and quicker. That's going to start the trend, and then they'll start pushing it in like Apple stores, or Samsung's going to come up with their own one, Tesla's going to come up with their own one. It's going to be a battle for who's going to have the best Neuralink chip. And it's going to come to a point where, and Ivan on tech said this, it's gonna come to a point where you're gonna apply for a job, and it's gonna be you and then the person who has the chip in their brain, and at the end of the day, the employer is gonna choose the person who's got the chip in their brain because they're gonna do a much better job, they're gonna be more efficient, they're gonna be quicker. Would you ever get chipped?
If it was open source, and if
Good
if
answer.
it was peer reviewed by 100,000 of the world's smartest people that I trusted, and they said and it was cryptographically secured, there's means in which such a thing could exist and be secured to not be hacked. That we knew it was only going to do what it said it was going to do on the packaging, and there's no way to come in and change the rules and make it spy on you, or
Because
transmit
that's the big
information or input thoughts.
that's the scary thing, right? Because what I'm concerned about is once you connect your brain to the internet, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable for hackers to come in and literally hack into your brain and control you.
Mm,
That's fucking
mm,
terrifying.
mm. Yeah, it is. It is terrifying. But once you start looking into cryptography, and you look into some of these algorithms and some of the the insane fucking numbers that these machines are computing. Some of these numbers are from if you were to try and write them down, are from here to the moon long. And they're trying to that's what secures these algorithms, and they're only getting longer and longer and more secure, and harder to break and harder to break, and they're already quantum computing resistant. So I'm not a mathematician, but the mathematicians that are that are switched on, that that know about it, they they will say that you're going to have a pretty bloody tough time cracking into one of these. It's impossible at the moment until quantum computers come along, and even then there's already solutions that are quantum resistant. So yeah. if it was open source and the cryptography and the securing was there, then I'd get chipped. If you don't, you can't beat machines, then join them, right? You're going to get left behind.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sorry, go
the
on.
the access to to intelligence that you would have, the problem that Neuralink's trying to solve is, we can, through our eyes, we can input information at quite a high speed, but to be able to upload that
Yeah,
information, this is the highest upload
the
we'd be
bandwidth is too
ever be
small.
able to. Absolutely. And even now we've gone from luckily we can video talk. The bandwidth is quite high right now in this video chat. But certainly, if we're on a keyboard, our bandwidth is type to 10-finger text, and then even worse if we're on our mobile phone, 2-finger text. So the bandwidth there has shrunk significantly. So through Neuralink, the idea is to complete mind interface to be able to upload information just as quick as you download information as thought to text.
That's so crazy when you think
It's
about it that
hectic.
way, man. It's absolutely insane, and we're heading into this technological revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, and it's happening at an exponential rate. And we're gonna blink, and then it's all gonna be here, and we're just gonna be scratching our head like the world was not like this just 10 years ago. I honestly think by 2030, this place is gonna be unrecognizable.
It's going to be insane, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy, man.
I hope
Yeah,
for the I hope for that. There's a lot of I've been seeing a lot of things, with the civil now. A lot of with the civil movements over in America. Technological stagnation and all these things. No doubt, just media FUD. They like to jump on, and all this. Everyone likes to jump on with the times, but the threat that the thought that we're always going to move forward, and in technological process is, I grew up thinking that, for ages. Imagine seeing the world in 20, 30 years, and 50 years, and 100 years. Imagine what it's going to look like. But,
I just
imagine if it doesn't.
I honestly just I pray to God that it doesn't end, like, especially here in Australia, we don't end up like China with the social credit system, with the cameras everywhere and everyone's got a profile on the database, and if you get caught jaywalking, your social credit goes down, which means you can't ride the bus. That's horrible. That's like a really dystopian future.
Things are getting hairy, man, and I mean the prosecution of whistleblowers, of people coming out, speaking these fundamental protections that were put in place to ensure that that power could be checked is just being thrown out the fucking door like it means nothing.
Yeah, we need people like Julian Assange. We need people like Edward Snowden. Without those people, we'd have never would have known what was going on behind the scenes. And you know what? Hillary Clinton probably would have been president right now, and we would have been going into like a physical World War III. I honestly don't doubt it for 1 second.
Yeah. Who whoever you get in the president, in my mind, it's all they're all under one game. I see a big movement for
Mr. Trump.
for Mr. Trump. There's a big movement for Mr. Trump right now, and I mean, I've gotten around it. I listen, but you do it bit more digging. Some things just don't add up. If he's really there for sure, a few things that he's done has been good for America, been good for the business people of America and the rich people of America. But what about the constitutional rights and the little guy and the average people? What about freedom of speech? What about freedom of the press? What about the right to be able to whistleblow if that information which you show to be correct is of great substance and of value to the public. All of these are clearly outlined protections, and they just keep getting ignored. So until Trump stops prosecuting whistleblowers, stops prosecuting WikiLeaks, who he loves so much, and who a lot of these campaigns who talk him up seem to quote so much. As soon as he stops trying to prosecute these journalists who who were truly there for the people, then I believe he's actually there for the average people, and not he's just his rich buddies.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, number one, if he gets re-elected, and if he does get re-elected, to see what America would look like in 4 years from now. So that's
A lot of people think he's playing three-dimensional chess, and I said,
5D chess.
5D chess. Sorry, 5D chess. Yeah, it's that complicated now. I mean, and you promised you were going to pardon Julian Assange when you first got elected, and now 4 years in, you're looking for your second term, and you're still you're trying to extradite him and charge him for 175 years. What are you waiting for? Oh, it's 5D chess. He's going to get in next term, and then he's going to do it. He just doesn't want to do it now because it might hurt his chances of I don't know what 5D chess. If he was going to do it, he would have done it already, like he said he was going to do when he first got into power. But he hasn't done it. He's not going to do it.
Yeah, it's like a real life Netflix movie. You don't even have to put Netflix on. You can just turn on to social media, go into YouTube, and see what's happening around the world, because there's so much shit going on right now. It's so hard to keep up with everything. But yeah, man, we're just at about an hour. Let's wrap it up. I want to ask you. I got this thing called your top three. So, the first top three is three people most influential in your life.
Okay, well, Andreas Antonopoulos.
Mm-hmm.
I watch everything that he does.
Take note, people.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping up to date in the crypto space. You got to watch, Elon Musk. Whatever, that's an easy one. He's an interesting person to follow. Being up, so interested in, in a background in renewable energy and battery technology. And it's very interesting to see what he's doing in that space. And also, I think most of us are, avid followers of space. So it's interesting to see what he's doing there, and and that's another thing, that gold is a store of currency, and space mining and these sorts of things. There are other things, topics I've been exploring quite a bit, which is why I think Bitcoin, essentially over the next 100 years as a store of wealth, is going to outcompete gold quite a bit. There's hundreds of $1 trillion reason to go and start mining just the moon. It's not a hard feat. Third, so I'll probably give it at the moment, because I've been, over the last 3 years, I've been just so delved into cryptocurrency and blockchain. I think Alex Saunders. I can't miss anything that
Good old
his
nugget.
advice. A good old nug. His advice is
He's a legend, man.
So yeah, two of the three are crypto people. That's just because that's what my world is focused on quite a bit right now. Nug gives the good news close to home, and Andreas has got the technical. That gives you the technical know-how. So if you can watch everything those two do, you're in a pretty good spot. There's a whole bunch of others as well, but I like those two.
That's awesome. That's really good. All right. Next top three. Top three things you're most grateful for in your life.
Health. You got to. Without health, you've got nothing. You can have all the wealth in the world, can't you? And with all the wealth, if you got sick, it wouldn't bring you back, or it wouldn't make you unsick. So you've got to treat your health, and try and strive to live a long time. Try and strive to live 100 years old, I think. is the goal. Second thing, most grateful for, living in a good place. Australia.
The lucky country.
It's a lucky country. I mean, it's a good country. We're isolated from a lot of the things. We're isolated from a lot of the, social unrest and economic downturns we have been, at least sort of, the last 30, 40 years. We're a low populated country, and we've got, such a big, vast space where if shit ever goes down, we see a zombie apocalypse or something like that. We've got plenty of bushland to go and, shrub to go and hide in and go and hunt, and plenty of ocean to go, spearfishing in and stuff like that. So Australia's a good place, and thankful to be here. Third thing I'm most thankful for is Bitcoin. Thank
Yeah.
fuck for Bitcoin.
Thank fuck for Bitcoin.
If it wasn't for Bitcoin, then we were going through this economic bullshit without an alternative, a way of protesting without being out there looking like a muppet every day with a sign. You know, it's not that I'm, putting down protests is a very important thing in
Of
that, but,
course.
to be out there every day and not really get what you're trying to, to solve, the best way is just to,
Bitcoin is the biggest, most peaceful protest on this
biggest,
planet.
most peaceful protests, and it just, stop giving your money to the greedy banks that
Exactly.
fuel all of this bullshit. Your George Soros fed,
Oh man.
banks that are stacking up all these bricks and rocks around, the city, trying to perpetuate,
Yeah, what the
riots and
fuck?
and all sorts of bullshit. The bank, the bank system that's used to terrorize the world, and it's a money system that's used as a weapon against countless hundreds of millions of people in these countries like Venezuela, like Iran, Syria, these African countries. Like a lot of these people are they haven't done anything wrong yet. These restrictions and these sanctions are used as a weapon against the populations. They're used as a weapon to wage war against the people, and they're starving. And so Bitcoin has for the first time ever because the restriction in these countries, remember, they can't get into they can't get gold, they can't get silver, they can't get their currencies deflating away, hyperinflating away to nothing. So thank God for for Bitcoin as a way, to be able to hedge against this hegemony.
Plan B.
Plan B. Yeah.
And last top three, bro. Three goals that you're looking to smash in the next few years.
$1 million in cryptocurrency.
Oh
Million dollar
yeah,
crypto.
million. That's your
that's,
goal? Million?
that's the first. That's where you start, and then you move
Nice.
on from there, right? Um, Second one is, it's all well and good to have $1 million, portfolio in the cryptocurrency, but, to need to try and automate, multiple streams of income and, automate a good percentage of it per year. So, you can sort of step away and, and do what you do. So I think, DeFi and, through staking rewards and through all sorts of different ways, through digitalized assets, we're going to be able to create all sorts of um, revenue streams, power ledger, asset germination events,
Yeah.
running, parts of solar farms. That's one stream of income I'm really, really excited to generate. We've got, Carbon Network and, the Ethereum staking rewards we're going to be getting from that. That's one, I'm really excited for. But yeah, the second is you got to automate 100K at least per year. You got
Yeah,
to automate 100K per year
that's
um, in 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 income.
that's awesome, man. That's living the dream right there.
Mm.
Uh,
I mean, with $1 million in DeFi currently, rates in Australian dollars are just shy of 12%. So if you have $1 million and you locked it up in DeFi, it's quite realistic to get up or to automate 100K per year.
Millionaires, I hope you're listening, guys, because there's
If,
a lot of good tips right here, and you can make
absolutely.
so much money on your money right now. It's
And
it's a
then
beautiful time to be alive.
fuck off to Thailand, sit on a beach, and sip cocktails like a king.
Yeah.
Mm,
Fuck yeah, that's
sounds
great,
good
man.
to me.
Oh, I'm so excited for the future, man. I'm always living ahead in the future because I know what's coming, and both of us know what's coming, and we we're in the beautiful position to capitalize on all of this, and I can't wait, honestly.
Mm.
Um, and very last thing before we wrap up, anything that you want to ask me, open floor.
What are you most excited about in terms of what projects have you got your eye the most in the crypto space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my majority of my stack, so I'll just get my
Why?
block folio out at the moment. So I got about I'd say 55% into Bitcoin of my net worth, and
Mm.
about 25 in Ethereum, and then the rest is all split up into different various alts. So I got a bit of Cardano, I got a bit of Tezos, I got a bit of Power Ledger, a very small amount of XRP. XRP really disappointed me. I thought they had very good marketing, but it's just a shit coin at the end of the day. It really has no value.
I could have
Um,
told you that. No, yeah, and
their
I mean,
marketing
I
got
think
me.
the fundamental argument now that people are really starting to consider is like central bank digital currencies. So Ripple, why, what central bank digital currencies essentially aiming to cut out a lot of the banks functions, and Ripple's partnering with the banks to help them essentially rip customers off for cheaper.
Yeah.
So central bank digital currencies are looking to replace the whole model. So on that, I think also people are actually just coming to realization that it is a shit coin. That hey, it's only there trying to bolster the system and help the shit keeps being around as it is, and help the banks rip off people for less. And plus it's not even it's not even that sure of a thing, because central bank digital currencies are coming to
Oh yeah.
coming to change the whole game anyway and make it a bit irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that I realized. So I've kind of like I haven't bought any XRP. I got my stack. I'm gonna keep it just in case. If it
Mm,
pops, it pops. If not, I'll just convert it back into Bitcoin. So
mm.
other things, Litecoin. I got a bit of Litecoin. Go. I'm very excited for Go.
Misago is one thing I'm really excited about. A DeFi coin tied with a staking model tied in. It's a scaling solution.
Oh,
So
dude, it's
we've
got
got the
everything.
plasma. We've got a decentralized DEX, a decentralized exchange, and we've got a staking model tied in with that. So OMG is one thing I'm really excited about for sure.
Yeah. Got a bit of Neo, got a bit of EOS, not too much, just enough to say that I have some. Uh, Recently got the fuck into Kyber. Kyber network has been insane. It's been on fire lately.
Been a beast.
Same as Raiden,
Yeah.
same as Engine. I fucking love
Oh
Engine
yeah.
Coin. I love what they're
Gaming.
doing.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
going to be really exciting when when gaming and we get gaming and Celsius meet. When we get collateralized. When Celsius really opens up from just fiat pairs and crypto pairs, and we start seeing digital assets being tokenized. So we start seeing registrations. We start seeing property being tokenized, and shares of properties being listed as collateral for, to issue loans against. When we start seeing gaming non-fungible tokens and gaming items being able to be used as collateral for loans, and gold. Imagine earning you got a couple of bill on RuneScape, and you got some killer items, full set of armadillo and whatnot, and you want to go and um, you know um, uh, lock it up, or essentially or pull those parts back down into the base level um, um, the crypto. It's going to be blockchain and gaming is going to be insane. And I've been trying to figure out ways on how you could really make money from blockchain. How good would it be to to make good money from being able to spend 4, 5, 6 hours playing a game
yeah,
part of your day.
it's all coming, man. It's all coming. That's why I love this industry. It's forever, improving. It's forever growing. It's cutting edge. Literally, we're at the cutting edge of technology of blockchain right now, and it's so exciting. I'm so excited. And with that, thank you so much, Justin, for coming on. I appreciate it, bro. And
Thanks for having me, man.
I will see you one day in Liechtenstein where we will celebrate.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or there's a couple of little micronations now. We might be able to, once crypto booms, you can, for a small fee, we can buy a membership. Like Lieberland is ringing the bell.
Oh yeah.
Let's go and buy a membership to Lieberland and build that up.
Fuck yeah. All right, man. Thanks heaps. And yeah,
Anytime, man.
well,
We
we'll do
can
this again for sure.
we'll do it again soon. Let's make this a regular and do a bit of catch up on the fundamental market news.
That's it. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, mate.